What's going on, guys? My name is Ryan, I'm a CPA, and today I'm going to be talking about whether or not you should be using your home equity or refinancing your mortgage to pay off your other debts. This is something I see often with my clients, and I get asked a lot, and I've actually been seeing a lot of people suggesting this method of paying off debts, and I just wanted to talk about that today. But first of all, I would love it if you would please smash the like button if you're going to find this video helpful, which I think you will. And also, if you're new here, please consider subscribing to my channel, and you will find more content on taxes, business advice, maybe some personal advice, that kind of thing. But yeah, give me a like, give me a subscribe, really appreciate it. All right, so the basic summary is we have somebody who might own a home and they have some equity in there, some decent equity, and they also have credit card debts, student loan debts, maybe some car debts. Should you take out the money, the equity in your home to pay off these debts? A lot of people might think, well, yeah, you have a lower interest here in your home, maybe like a 2.5%, 3.5%. And then, your credit card debt is anywhere between 18 and 24%. You have your student loans, which is maybe like 4 to 10% interest, and your car debt shouldn't be that much. It should be, around where your home is, like 3%, something like that. But is it a good idea to pull equity from your home to pay off these debts? And my argument is that it is definitely not a good option and not a good idea to do, and I'll tell you why. The first reason is, if you refinance your home to pull out cash to pay off these debts, you're gonna get a false sense of accomplishment, like you did something. And really, you didn't do shit. You just moved debt from here to here, okay? And so the problem with that is that you might think you did something and now you're debt free except for your mortgage. Well, then if you didn't really change the behaviors that got you into debt in the first place, you're more than likely gonna get back into debt. And now you're gonna have, lower equity in your home and even more debt. So the first two reasons is you didn't do anything and you didn't change the behavior that got you into debt in the first place. And that's a really important thing to do when you are paying off debts. The struggle of getting out of debts, the struggle of really intensely paying off debt will change you in a really good way. The third reason I have is that the math might not work, Like you think you went from an 18% credit card interest rate to a 3% interest rate for your home. And you think, well, I saved 15% in interest. Well, yeah, that sounds great on the front ends, but in the long run, in the back ends, the math just might not work out. And I'll tell you why, okay? If you have 18% on your credit card and you fiercely paid it off, okay? You put all your extra money towards it. Maybe you had 20 grand in credit card debt. You put all your extra money towards it. You pay it off in 1 to 2 years, okay? That 18% interest is nowhere compared to the 15 to 30 years of 3% interest that you're gonna pay on that same $20,000 if you refinanced your home to pay off that debt. 3% interest sounds good on the front end, but over 30 years, it's gonna kill you compared to the 18% over 2 years, okay? Now, you might say, well, what if you just sell your home anyway in like 5 years and then it doesn't really matter? Well, it kind of does matter because you did lower your equity in the home, okay? And if you sell your home anyway and you get cash for it, if you didn't refinance it in the first place, then you could use that cash to pay off your credit card anyway. And then you can probably look for a home that you can actually afford rather than a home that the lender told you could afford, but you really maybe shouldn't afford. Another reason is that it's risky. It could be risky to increase the leverage on your home, okay? Because if you have a bunch of student loan debt, if you had a bunch of credit card debt, if you stop paying on those for whatever reason, like let's say you lost your job or another pandemic happens, if you stopped paying on those, then the credit companies will be angry with you. They might send you a notice. They might eventually file a judgment against you. You might be able to work out a deal with them to pay off a reduced amount. All those things are possible, right? If you stop paying on your mortgage and you have all this, because you have all this debt, leveraged on your mortgage, then you will likely be foreclosed on. You lose your place to live, okay? much, and then you lose your asset, you lose your home, this asset that's appreciating, it's gone. So yeah, you're at a higher risk. And $20,000 of credit card debt into your mortgage, that might not seem like a big deal. That might increase your payments by like $4 or $5 a month. But yeah, I mean, if you rolled over like 100 grand or 150 or 200 grand of student loans into your home, then we're talking significant amounts. We're talking about a significant payment increase. And if that payment increase causes you to not be able to pay in full each month, then you're in a real world of trouble. And then another reason to not refinance your home to pay off debt is because there's likely closing costs involved with refinancing your home. A few $1,000s. Now, again, it might not seem like that much in the grand scheme of things, compared to like your $300,000 home loan, but that is more expenses that's gonna, work against you on top of interest if you have to refinance your home to pay off debt. Now, all of these principles also apply to home equity line of credits, which is an even riskier mortgage product. But the same thing applies. Like, you shouldn't take out a HELOC to pay off your other debts because you're still leveraging your home against these debts. And HELOCs are just a little more risky than primary mortgages in that they have variable rates. They typically don't have as good of interest rates as primary mortgage. It's just not a great idea, okay? And so, do I think that you should be refinancing your home to pay off debt? No, I don't. And then there's also a bunch of other things I don't think you should be refinancing your home to do either. And those things are buying a vehicle. Don't cash out to buy a vehicle. Don't cash out to make improvements to your home, which, is more of a gray area to a lot of people because, if you're making improvements to your home, it theoretically increases the value of your home. And so your investment might be worth it, but a lot of improvements you make to your home do not raise your value dollar for dollar. And, so I usually don't recommend you take out money from your house to make improvements on your home. I also don't think that you should take out money to invest in the stock market, in cryptos, anything like that, or to, create an emergency funds, go on a vacation or something, or just any kind of spending. That is not a good idea. Like, if you can't do any of the things I just said without, taking out a mortgage on it, then that means you can't afford to do these things. And you shouldn't buy things or do things that you can't afford, I think we've normalized debt in this culture, and I don't think it's a good thing. You shouldn't be leveraging yourself to do things to increase your lifestyle. I think that, if you need a car, you shouldn't borrow money to buy the car, because then, if you borrow money to do anything, that generally means you can't afford it. And, I would go as far as saying, like, you shouldn't seriously invest and try to build wealth until your mortgage is paid off. And you might think that I'm crazy for saying that because, mortgage is 3% interest and you can probably earn 10, 12% in the stock market. Why wouldn't you do that? The math just works out there. I mean, yeah, the math works out. Unless you consider risk, then it maybe doesn't work out. You lose your job and you still have a mortgage. You got to pull out from your investments. But what if your investments are tanking because it's a pandemic? Then you just put yourself in a bad situation. I think another good way to think about that is if you had a paid for house, if your house was not mortgaged, it was paid for in cash, and then you wanted to invest, would you pull out a mortgage now to invest in the stock market? Would you do that? Would you put a mortgage on your home, on your paid for home, to invest much money in the stock market? Most people would probably say no. And that's what trying to seriously invest while you have a mortgage is like. It's like you're borrowing money from your house to invest in the market when you could be taking whatever extra money you own to pay off the mortgage. So that's all I got for today. I hope that brings some clarity to some people. And I know a lot of people might disagree with me. That's okay. This is just my opinion. But it's all, coming from my experiences and dealing with many clients who are in debt and who are trying to figure out how to get out of debt and what works and what doesn't work. The key to getting out of debt is changing your behavior and getting intense about it. Like there's no better way, because once you change your behavior and you get intense about paying off debt and you struggle with reducing your expenses and increasing the amounts that you can pay towards your debt, if you go through that for several years, that will change you and you will never, ever get into debt again after you struggle like that. Okay, so that's all I got for today. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for watching the video. If you found it helpful, please smash the like button. Let me know in the comments what you think. Do you think I'm a dumbass? Do you think that, do you agree with me? I don't care. Just let me know what you think. And hope you have a good rest of your week and stay safe out there.
I hit the function, hit the rose till I hiccup. I hit the stage and leave with money that's a sticker. She picture perfect, so I told him I'm a flicker.